So we got some more people trickling in, but it's 3 o'clock now, so let's go ahead and get started, and people can keep joining as we continue. I want to say hi to everyone. My name is Ronnie. I'm the Director of Partner Relations here at Plus This, and I am really lucky to be introducing you all to Tyler Garns. As he said, he knows some of you already, which is pretty exciting, but he's going to show us some of his really super personal or ultra personalized, I think the word he used, automated funnels. So I hope you're all as excited as I am. He's going to be doing the majority of the talking throughout this presentation. I'm going to chime in at the end, but I'll just go ahead and let you take it from here, Tyler.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ronnie. Really appreciate it. Really excited to be here with you guys today. Let me know, for those of you that are on, if you're having any audio difficulties. Every once in a while, GoToWebinar will show a little alert that our internet connection isn't great. So if that's the case, let me know. If it gets bad, we'll see what we can do about it. Anyways, yeah, today one of my favorite topics is ultra personalized yet automated marketing. See, the problem is we've got so many people now doing automated marketing and not doing it great that everyone's inboxes are full. Everyone's getting just badgered by all this marketing, and it's not as personal as it should be. And these marketing automation tools like Infusionsoft are being misused. They're not being used for what they were made for. And so conversion's going down and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to show you some ways that you can re-inject some real, what I call intimacy, some real relationship building. So I'm going to show you a fake example. It's kind of a mock example that I created, and it'll be kind of funny because it's just a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because the example is a surf shop. Those of you that know me know that I like to surf. I've been surfing since I was a young kid. It's why I live here in Carlsbad in California, so that I can surf, and my boys are all very much into surfing. So my mock business for our scenario here is a surf shop selling surfboards. But I'm going to show you how to do that in this business, and we can talk about how that might relate in a bunch of different business types. But then I'm going to show you a real life case study and the actual results. And I'll talk to you about how this was implemented in that business and a real client of ours. And the cool thing is all of this is doable through Plus This, right? Plus This is this amazing tool suite that gives you all these capabilities. But like Infusionsoft, you don't necessarily have to use all the tools to get great benefit out of it. I'm going to show you basically, one or two little features that can really, really make the difference for you and make a tool like that worth the money all day long. I mean, just every day of the week, it's like so easy to say, yeah, I'm getting positive ROI on that. So let's dig into this real quick here. We'll go through a quick introductory slide for those of you that don't know me. Again, my name is Tyler Garns, and that's supposed to be a picture of me on the right, but clearly I forgot to replace it, so you get a windmill today. But I'm the original Infusionsoft ninja. Why did Clayt call me that at Icon this last year? Well, because I was Infusionsoft's VP of marketing, but before that I was Infusionsoft's internet marketing manager. I was actually the guy managing Infusionsoft's own Infusionsoft account for 5 years while I worked there. I actually started there under Dave Lee, who's now CEO of Plus This. So Dave and I go way back. We're good friends. He's been a great mentor to me. But I was the guy behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons, building the campaigns, creating all the sequences, doing all that kind of stuff. And really, in the early days, became one of the guys who really learned to bend the system to my will. So I can write some API code. I can do all the fancy things you can think of with Infusionsoft. And so, Clayt kind of coined that term when he introduced me on stage at Icon. But about 5 years ago, I left Infusionsoft. I started my own thing. I did private consulting for a couple of years, and then I started Box Out Marketing. Box Out Marketing is a full service agency where we serve Infusionsoft clients. We help you build your funnels really in whichever way you need. We can write the copy, we can do the strategy, we can build all the campaigns, we can do the landing pages, your website, all of that stuff. We have a full service team in-house. Or if you say, hey, you know what, I can handle all of it, I just need you guys to do the Infusionsoft, or I just need you to do the copywriting, we can do bits and pieces as well. And over the years, since I had that connection with Infusionsoft and was able to have some success there. I've had the privilege of working with a lot of the big names in the market. You know, JJ Virgin, Perry Marshall, Frank Kern, Rich Schefren, Sean Greeley, and you know the list goes on and on. I've been on stage at all the big events, internet marketing events over the years, and it's just been a real privilege to me to be able to go out and share what I've learned over the years. You know, not just implementing for clients, but really being in the trenches, doing it, being responsible for an ad budget, being responsible for the results, making sure we generate leads and close sales, all that kind of stuff. So I love getting out and sharing what we're learning each and every day, because we learn new things every day with clients of ours and in our own business, and it's great to share that stuff. So let's get into it. So the first thing here that I want to talk about is the #1 indicator of lead quality. Why is this important? Because we can go out and we can create funnels. We can create funnels of all different shapes and sizes, you know, quiz funnels, surveys, ebooks, webinars, video series, whatever you want to offer as your lead magnet. And you can drive people into a funnel, and you can drive, you know, high volume if you want, or you could drive just a little bit. But at the end of the day, you got to get high quality leads into your funnel, because those are the ones that are going to close. So how do you know if the quality is good or not? Well, there's one indicator that is absolutely the most important indicator of lead quality. And if you get nothing out of my presentation today, I hope it is this, that the #1 indicator of lead quality is activity. It is what they actually do. So one of the big things or popular things right now is doing like these little simple surveys, right? Mainly because of Ryan Levesque and him launching the Ask method, which is great, by the way. I have only good things to say about the way he teaches it, but a lot of people misunderstand what it's all about. And what they think it's all about is to segment people based on what they say, and then based on what they say, we're going to be able to close more deals. And that's only partly true, because what people say is not as important, and it's not as good of an indicator as what they actually do. So someone might say, yeah, I'm interested in XYZ, but unless they actually do stuff that shows that they're interested, then that lead is not very warm yet, right? So activity is the most important indicator of lead quality. And with that being said, what we want to do is we want to design our funnels so that based on activity primarily, yes, we can segment people on demographics. Yes, we can segment people on what they tell us when they fill out a survey, but we most importantly want to not just segment, but react based on their activity. When someone does something and then you're able to immediately react in a personal way, and it feels personal to them, and they feel like you care, and that's why you're able to reach out to them in that way, then that's what starts to create the deep relationship that we're looking for here. And when you have that deep relationship, sales come much, much easier. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to create powerful customized messages without having to write tons of variations. See, if you do the Ask method wrong, or if you think, oh, I've got Infusionsoft, it's this great tool for segmenting, man, I can just segment to my heart's content, and you start creating surveys or forms or whatnot where you're asking questions, and then you segment people into a million different sequences, it starts to get really difficult to manage because now I have to go in and I have to write copy for all those different segments. And what you'll find if you've done this is that for the most part, these different segments, segmenting this way doesn't necessarily produce a whole lot more results. It might produce a little bit more results, but in general, you're not going to grow leaps and bounds just by basic segmenting on questions or surveys in a form. You have to couple that, once you know what they're interested in, you have to couple that with some activity. And the truth is, you want to narrow it down to a few very powerful segments, not all the possible segments. So here's kind of a more simplified version of that. It's still overboard, in my opinion, for a lot of situations. Usually, I want to get people narrowed down into about 3 main segments. And this really is 3 main segments. So this is part of the example that I'm going to show you. This is actually the campaign that I'm going to put you guys into if you choose to participate. So the idea is we use SMS to engage with people, and then we move them through a form to get them routed into a segment. And here, there's really 3 main segments. It's beginner surfers, intermediate surfers, or advanced surfers. And then I'm asking one other simple question, which is, what kind of surfboard are you looking for? A short board, a long board? And based on that, they end up in beginner short, beginner long, intermediate short, intermediate long, etc. So I end up with 6 segments, but they're actually really 3 main groups that I'm speaking to. So this is the key: get them into main, 3-ish main groups that mean something to you, that are meaningful in terms of what their desires are or what their pains are, and then react based on activity. So what I'm going to show you is this campaign, and you can see how simple it is actually to build, and it's really easy to set up in Plus This. I'm going to show you, Plus This with pick snippets kind of all together. But here's the scenario. So I need you to get out your phones if you want to play along here. Let's suppose I own a surf shop and you want a custom surfboard. So that's the scenario that we're playing with here. And don't worry about the specifics. Imagine this is your business and you've got people who want something from you, right? You can translate all this. So I want you to try this out. So open up your phone and open up a text message and send a text message to 760-306-4906 and just put the word surf in that text message. So as you're doing that, let me explain the scenarios where you might use this. If you have a local business, outdoor advertising, whether it's a little sign somewhere, or maybe you do little local events and you have a booth. It could be, on your car wrap, your vehicle wrap. It could be a little display inside your store. All of those different types of things. You could do this through email, but it's a little bit weird through email. This is more when you're trying to capture new leads. If you get out and you speak from stage, this is one of the most effective ways to capture leads. When you're speaking from stage, is through SMS. I've done it in a whole bunch of different scenarios. It always works phenomenally. So I'll often, during my presentation, offer a lead magnet. Hey, if you want this cool thing, just text in this keyword to this number. And when you do so, it then will walk you through a series of communications to get more information from that person and start working them down a funnel. Okay, so once you do that, it's going to respond back with, hey, I'm stoked you're interested in the custom board. What's your first name so I can get your request started, right? And then you'll reply with your name, and then I'll ask for your email. So hopefully you guys are all going through this right now. If you have any questions or concerns, put them in the questions box. But this is really pretty basic, right? What we're doing is we're starting a conversation. And why are we doing it with text? Because text is currently the most intimate medium for communication. When I first started at Infusionsoft, for those first few years, I would have said that email was, right? At the time, like, social media marketing was really starting to ramp up, and everyone was all hot on social, and everyone said, well, social is way better than email, blah, 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 all this stuff. But the truth is, email has always been and still is a more intimate method of communication than social, and lots and lots and lots of studies have proven that an email address is much more valuable than a follower or a friend or whatever in your social channels. But now things have changed a little bit, and SMS is a better, I shouldn't say better, it's a more intimate method of communication than even email. And so if you can get that conversation started, and then you can just roll that into true, one-on-one conversations, then that's extremely powerful. So once that happens, when you reply with your email, then you'll get a photo and a link. So this is where pick snippets starts to come in handy. This one isn't necessarily merging anything in yet. You'll see in a minute where I do that. But I say, hey, great, and I'll merge in your name. I shape boards for all different waves and surfing styles. Click here to let me know what you're looking for. And when you do that, it's going to take you to a landing page, and it's mobile optimized because we know you're coming from a phone, right? And it's going to pass the email address into that form. So here's what the form looks like, right? And it's going to be customized. So this one, since I did it, it's got my name there, right? Tyler will shape the right board for you in 10 days or less. And since we're passing the email address into the form, we don't have to ask them for any of that information again. We're just going to ask them, hey, what's your level of surfing? Beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And what's the style board you're looking for? Okay, so you'll end up just selecting those options and you'll hit submit. Actually, let me back up here, make sure everyone's here with me. Let me know if you're getting behind, or if you have any questions. You know, Halfdan's asking a good question. Is this likely to work for me if I'm messaging from New Zealand? You know what? I'm not sure, Ronnie. You could say better in terms of how Plus this handles international texting. I don't know all the details there, truthfully.
Sure, absolutely. So we connect you to a company called Twilio, and Twilio does handle international text message just fine. You would just, there's different levels of pricing depending on what country your phone number is from and what country you're sending that text message to. There are a few countries that are not under Twilio's umbrella of what they cover, but it's just a handful of them, and New Zealand is more than fine.
Got it. Cool. Do you have to enter in like the country code or anything like that to make that work?
So if you have the country code inside of your Infusionsoft, that's fine. If you don't have the country code in your Infusionsoft, Plus this can default it to the country code of your choice.
Okay, cool. Very good. All right, so that's the next step. Once you get that, you know, you get your name and your email into the text, then it's going to take you to the landing page, and you're going to give this information, right? And so now you're going to get an email, right? You'll get a customized email. You saw the different sequences. So if you're a beginner and you're looking for a shortboard, you're going to get this email. Whoops. You can get this email and you can see, I've got your request for shortboard. We're stoked to help you out. Since you're a beginner, I'm going to do the following for you, blah, 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 and tell you how I'm going to customize this surfboard. And then it says, hey, when you're ready to order, just click here to place your order. All right, and then they would go and, you know, you would click on that, you'd go to an order form and you'd make a purchase. And then of course, now we're fast forwarding into the future. Say I've got your custom board finished. Now I can have an automated message go out. Hey, Tyler, good news. Your shortboard is ready. Get down here to pick it up. Check it out. Right now, in the meantime, if any of you guys started into that text messaging process and you didn't within, I think it's about 5 minutes, go and fill out that form, then we're going to send another follow-up text to you, basically saying, hey, I'm waiting to shape your custom board for you. And I can't remember if I have it in the presentation here. But yeah, you'll get this text, right? So you get this text that says, hey, Tyler, I'm ready to make your board. Hey, I don't want to be a pest, but just making sure you got my last text. I sent a link to our board chooser. All right, so this is Pick Snippets, where I'm merging in your name right into that image. So it looks like I've written on a paper and I've written your name. Same thing with the surfboard, right? Shortboard for Tyler, it merges in your name. So that's the cool thing with Pick Snippets is that you can merge in custom information right into the image and send that through through SMS. So that's really, really cool. But the good thing is too, is that if that a lot of this is automated, but if someone wants to engage, you can have that one-on-one engagement there with those clients as well. And what I'm going to show you in a minute is how that translates into results in real life. This is an example of lead capture with SMS and then leading you down kind of a weird path because I made it up. But I'm going to show you a real life case study here in just a minute. Before I move on, does anyone have any questions about this? All right, looks like a couple of you had a little bit of trouble. May have entered in things out of order or something like that. But yeah, a lot of you saying, no, this is great. This is awesome. Good stuff. Excellent. So yeah, it's one of the things with these automated systems. It's not always going to be able to detect if someone types in the wrong thing. If they type in their last name instead of their first name or something like that, or if they type in something other than an email address when they're supposed to put in their email address, it might get the whole automated system out of whack. But for the most part, this works great. Like I said, I've used it from stage a lot, and 90% of the time it works really, really well, and people are really excited about it. So let's talk conceptually again, and then we're going to go into a case study. So the key here is actions and reactions, right? When a prospect acts, we want to be able to react in a very personal manner. So when someone texts in, we want to have a response. When someone clicks on a link, we want to make sure we have the appropriate response, but we want to make sure that that's really, really personal, right? So customer actions, these are things like customer makes a purchase, a contact fills out a form, a contact calls the office. So there's another area where people don't always connect the dots, right? You know that in Infusionsoft you can set up a purchase goal, and when someone purchases, I can then follow up, right? And when they fill out a form. But what about when they call the office? Are you using internal forms or note templates to then trigger automated reactions to those people? When they click an email, when a customer refers a friend, when a customer makes a repeat purchase, etc. The list goes on and on, right? So then your reactions to this, oh, sorry, those are when the client's doing it, the prospect, right? But then there's things that you and your staff do, right? Process an order over the phone, complete a task, add a note to a record, set up an appointment with a prospect or a customer. These are all actions that happen with the prospect, right? You respond to an inquiry, you manually enter data about a customer. So anytime any of these actions take place, then we want to make sure we have the appropriate reaction that's totally tailored and personal for that person. So here's the key to all of this. I always tell myself, look, what would I do if I was just dealing with this one person? What would I do if I were doing it manually, right? How would I write the text? How would I write the email if I were doing it manually? Most people will write differently when they think they're writing to a list or when they think they're writing an automated sequence. It always comes out worse. So we deal with a lot of clients' copy and we end up correcting it because it's like, oh, this sounds very corporate, or it sounds very stiff. Is this really how you write to your customers? And they'll always say, no, I write differently when I write to my customers. Then write to me as if I was your customer. Just write me a simple email and then we'll take that, right? It should be very much exactly the same way as you would if you just sat down and wrote it in your inbox or whatever, or you send the text on your phone. The follow-up process as well should be very much exactly the way you would do it in real life. We set up automated sequences a lot of times that send an email like every day, every day, every day. And I always ask people, well, do you really do that? Like in real life, you follow up every day with your customers? No, not necessarily. Okay, well, what's the ideal spacing, right? How would you really do it in real life if you wanted to really stay on top of it, but you want to be courteous? And then it ends up looking different, right? So make sure that you're doing that in a very, very personal way. So in this case, there's a sales promotion, someone buys. The reaction, of course, is we do a new customer follow-up. Super basic example, but what does that follow-up look like if you're doing it manually? It's probably a little more personal. It's probably much more intimate. It's probably timed a little bit different than you might have your automated sequences going, things like that, right? All right, so let's look at this in terms of Infusionsoft actions and reactions, right? Actions are the goals, right? Goals are achieved when actions happen, and the reactions are handled in the sequences, right? So pretty straightforward concept there. The actions are the goals, the reactions are handled in sequences. So here we have a standard, kind of opt-in campaign. We got our lead magnet. And then when they opt in, our reaction is to put them into a sales promotion. When they purchase, our reaction is to put them in a new customer welcome. Now, again, here's a very, very simple example of segmentation. If that's a product that can be purchased over and over, and you put people into the same new customer welcome sequence over and over, that's a little weird. That's not what you would do in real life if you were handling it manually. So we want to account for that. These are all the little subtle things you want to make sure you account for in your campaigns. It's not crazy segmentation. It's not build out 20 different segments. It's, hey, how would I handle this person differently if they came back as a repeat customer? Right? And then you write a separate sequence for that scenario. Okay, so really basic: action, reaction, action, reaction, but there's options here based on the situation that that person's in, unique to that person. Okay, so campaign flow. Let's talk about this. We have a couple of rules that you really, really have to consider when you're building your campaigns, and this will hopefully help you think about things a little bit differently and in a more simple way. So rule number one is always provide a fast track. What does that mean? Well, again, with automation, we tend to create funnels that don't feel natural, right? You opt in, and then you put someone into a sequence of events that's eventually going to promote to them over the course of a week or 2 weeks. What if the person opts in and they actually want to buy right now? Well, we need to provide a fast track for that person to get there immediately, instead of having to wait for this sequence to slowly drip out over the next 2 weeks to finally get an offer to be able to purchase. All right, so we always want to provide a fast track. Not everyone's going to take you up on the fast track, that's okay, but always provide an option when people take action for them to continue taking action, for them to continue moving forward. If you don't, then you're in their way. And truth of the matter is, they're going to go look somewhere else for what they're looking for, right? They're going to go find it somewhere else where they can get it quicker. Okay, that's rule number one. Rule number two, always provide a slow track. So again, most people aren't going to take you up on your offer, or most people aren't going to take the fast track. They're not ready to go right now, but they will be down the road. That's the slow track. Most people are actually pretty good with this, because that's what Infusionsoft kind of sells, is this nurturing ability and this ability to follow up over time, right? But you need to provide that slow track. If they're not ready to buy right now, or they're not ready to request a consult, or they're not ready to take that next step, then we have a slow track, which is our standard nurturing track. And then lastly, don't ever let people slip through the cracks. Now, this is essentially, don't ever let someone get to the end of a campaign and that campaign just stops and there's not ever any follow-up. It could be that they just get added to a newsletter list and you're sending out your newsletter regularly, or you put them into a long-term nurture campaign. Whatever it is, don't let it just end, right? That would be a bad idea, because then those leads go cold, they find help somewhere else, and you lose the lead, you lose the opportunity, you lose the money that you spent on attracting that lead. So you don't want to ever let people slip through the cracks. You want to have a track always where they can continue to be nurtured and continue to see offers from you occasionally. All right, so those are the 3 rules. Real quickly on each one. Behavioral targeting is far more effective than anything else on the fast track, right? People will show you how qualified they are by their activity. If someone opts in and then they take a tripwire and then they take the upsell, that's a hot lead. Okay, we don't want to ignore that lead. That's a super, super hot lead, because they took all of the actions saying, I'm ready, I'm moving forward, I'm buying, etc. Right? The slow track, the lack of activity, tells you a couple of things. They might not be ready yet, so that's where our nurturing comes in place, right? The long-term nurturing and staying in touch. We want to be the ones that are there and helpful for them, so when the time is right, they're ready to move forward. But it also could be they haven't been convinced yet that your solution is the right one. So you may not want to give up and go immediately to soft nurturing. You might want to come back, reiterate the offer and the value, and make sure they understand what the value is, because they might not have been convinced yet, right? And they haven't been presented the right offer yet, right? So this is the slow track. So in that slow track, we want to nurture, but we also want to make sure we really clarify the value. Make sure we test different offers and dial it in just right, because we might be able to move people from the slow track back into the fast track if we're able to clarify those things, resolve concerns, and help people pass those concerns. And if not, then they stay on the slow track and they continue to get nurturing. All right, and filling the cracks. Again, no campaign should ever just end without following into further ongoing follow-up. Okay, so let me talk to you about a case study. I have a personal client, this is College Success Formula. They have been college counselors for the last 12 years, private college counseling. So they work with high school students to help them apply for college and get in. They help them do the college list thing, select the right colleges. They provide test prep for ACT and SAT. They have some counseling on, essays and applications and all that kind of stuff. It's whole full service deal. They were a client of mine for a few years, and I was helping them grow that business, and they were growing phenomenally. And truthfully, they got too busy, and they said, you know what, this is too hard to work. We're going to take all the information we know, and we're going to put it into a membership site. We'd rather manage a membership site. I said, okay, that's a little risky, but okay, whatever. And turns out they crushed it. They've been doing really well, but they've got this membership site going now called College Success Formula, and you can get in with a $1 trial, as you see there. Well, they did a webinar this last Saturday, And they do webinars once a month, and they have a pretty steady flow of leads into these webinars. And they have the standard kind of, register for the webinar, get follow-up reminder emails, attend the webinar, and you get the offer emails. And if you don't attend, then you get replay emails. And once you watch the replay, then you get the offer emails. Very, very standard sequence of events. And they've been getting a pretty decent close rate on these webinars, about 5% or so. Well, this last week, just this last weekend, we helped them just kind of amp all this up a little bit. And I suggested, hey, why don't we give them an option to opt into SMS reminders, but also let's invite them to text in questions that they have for the webinar prior to the webinar. So we're starting a personal SMS relationship with these people prior to the webinar even starting. As soon as they register, we're starting a conversation through SMS with them, and they're submitting questions, and our client was even responding to some of those questions and saying, hey, thanks, and we'll get those questions into the webinar. So starting a personal relationship with these leads prior to the webinar. We injected a few extra tactics to increase attendance and all that kind of thing. And then during the webinar, they actually present it as a live webinar, but it's recorded so that during the webinar, they can still be having that texting relationship. And so they tell people, hey, if you have questions, put them into the chat box. And then a lot of times people are either putting them into the chat box, but a lot of times they're also texting in those questions. So what happened was the webinar was over, the offer was done, the pitch has been made, people are buying, and the questions are just flooding in, more so than ever. I talked to Tom, who runs this business, about, I think it's 2.5 hours after the webinar was supposed to be over. And he's like, oh man, I'm busy. These questions are still coming in and people are still buying. And it turns out that day was their best day of sales ever. And so you can see here, this is current sales tracking. So you see June, July, August, September. We're only 14 days into September. We're half the way through September, and their sales in September are already far exceeding their previous month's sales. And again, Saturday, the day they had the webinar, was their highest grossing day ever in 12 years of business. And the content of that webinar, truthfully, they've given the content of that webinar quite a few times over the years. They probably do it, well, I know they do it at least once a year at the beginning of the school year, but they also share that same content in a lot of different other webinars in different formats. And it's never sold this well. And I attribute the sales, by the way, conversion on the webinar was at 10%. It was over 10%. Conversion on the webinar, which is almost double what they were getting before. And I attribute most of that to this intimate relationship that was created through SMS, through automated SMS and some one-on-one SMSs that they handled as well. And once people got on the webinar and they felt like they already had that relationship and they felt like they could have an open conversation and ask questions, they were able to resolve all of those sales concerns and just crush sales, right? So it was a really, really, really good day for them. And they learned in the process a lot about how important these intimate relationships are in the sales process. So what I want to invite you to do is think through your sales process, your lead generation process, your conversion process, the offer process, and figure out, how can I make it more intimate? How can I make it more personal? How can I really engage people at that personal level? It might be SMS, but it might not be. It doesn't have to be. It could be that your email follow-up is much more personal. It could be that you reach out to them personally through social media. I don't know, but you've got to get that relationship to go a little deeper, because everyone is blasting your audience in email. And if that's all you've got and your emails feel automated and they feel just like everybody else's, then you're just lost in the wind of everything that's going on out there. So find the ways where you can look at the actions that your prospects take and you can react in a personal manner. Don't worry about automation at first. Just look at the actions and figure out, what would I do personally if I was handling each of these in person or manually? And then take a step back and say, okay, how can I automate this? And how can I use Plus This and Infusionsoft together to create this amazing, unique, personalized experience and help people really feel what I do feel for them, which is care. I care about them and I care about their business and I want to be able to help them, and I just need them to be able to feel that. And I can do that when I have a personalized relationship and conversation with people. So ask yourself the question, where would your business be right now if you had this kind of funnel in place? If you had a very personalized yet automated funnel in place that could, in the case of College Success Formula, double conversions, what would your business look like? How would things be different? How important would it be for you to really analyze that and get that in place? And I'll invite you as well just to consider another question. Could you use some help to get that in place? At Box Out Marketing, we help people in 3 ways. You can do it yourself, and we have some online training that we could help you get access to learn how to do all of these things and learn Infusionsoft at a more intimate, deep level. And that's all online where you can just do it yourself. You can do it with us. We have various different workshops where we can sit with you in a group setting and work through, figuring out the strategy and building the campaigns, and you walk out of those workshops with your campaigns built and launched. Or done for you, right? You just say, hey, I'm busy. I'd rather have Box Out just handle this for me. We'd love to help you. So in any of those scenarios, just reach out to us. We'd love to be able to chat with you and help you. In any case, though, make sure you analyze your funnels and figure out where you can have a more intimate, personalized conversation. And Ronnie, I'm going to pass it over to you now. I know you've got a couple of slides here and special offer for everybody on the webinar here. So we'll let you take control back. Do I need to do anything?
I believe I can just take it. Give me just a moment.
There we go.
All right, do you see my screen?
Yep, we do.
All right, fantastic. So, oops.
We see the presenter side now.
You see the presenter side?
I think so.
Okay, let's swap that. There we go. Do you see it now?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, hold on. Let's get everything on the screen. Okay, so we've got a couple of different offers here. So with Plus This, if you wanted to give us a shot and you don't have Plus This already, you can actually try Plus This free for 30 days. You'll see a link on there. If you don't want to write it down, I also included it in the chat box, so you can just copy and paste it or click on that. So if you guys access the chat box, you should be able to just click on it right there. You'll also see that Tyler has his Infusionsoft Success Lab available for a $1 trial. You'll see the link to access that if you want to check that out. Again, I included that link in the chat box. You don't have to write it down. Now,
but by the way, Ronnie, we've never offered a $1 trial of Infusionsoft Success Lab before. It's been $297 a month, and we've sold it at $197 a month with a discount at Icon, and now we actually just changed the pricing. It's $197 a month going forward. But this is the first group and the first time ever that we've offered a trial, and so yeah, I'd really invite you guys to jump on that. The Success Lab is where we help you master Infusionsoft in 10 minutes a day. That might sound crazy. If you don't believe me, cough up a buck and you'll see how we do it. I think we've got a pretty unique way of training on Infusionsoft. And even if you cancel, before the 30 days is up, you're going to get a ton of value out of that. But I hope you stay because you're going to see a ton of value in the community there as well.
Absolutely, it's only $1, right? And that's a good point too, to give you a little bit more insight into Plus This for those who don't know. Not only can you use it for the SMS sequences that Tyler was displaying today, but we're an entire library of all these different add-ons for Infusionsoft that you can take advantage of. And for just $79 a month, you have access to an unlimited usage of all of those features. So let us know if you are interested in that. But we have a special offer today. If you we have a special offer for the first ones to sign up. So the first 20 people to sign up for either one of those will get an exclusive strategy call with Tyler, a 30-minute conversation, or with Box Out Marketing, a 30-minute conversation for a strategy session with him. The first 15 to sign up will get an hour-long implementation call with someone on my team here at Plus This. We'll walk you through all the different features, answer any questions you have about our software, and help you get started on that end. And then the first 10 who purchase who start the free trial of Plus This or purchase the Success Lab will actually get a campaign that was built by Tyler Garns himself, complete with a video walkthrough to actually show you the ins and outs of that. So if you guys go ahead and follow either of those links and get signed up, we'll make sure that you get access to these initiative bonuses. All right. Now we want to
Awesome.
go
Yeah, hey,
just for the. Oh,
Ryan,
go ahead,
just
Tyler.
real quick to clarify, the campaign that we're going to give you is the campaign that I used today with that surf example. So
Perfect.
if you like that example and you want to replicate that in your business, that's the campaign that we're going to give you along with some video training on how to set it all up.
And so the nice thing about that is we're actually going to upload it right into your Infusionsoft. So you don't have to go recreate it. It's already going to be there with all the placeholders and everything for you guys to just have right in your Infusionsoft. All you have to do is put in your own personal stuff at that point, right? Now, for all of these bonuses, we do have a deadline. So these bonuses are available through the weekend. It does close September 17th, so don't wait too long on getting those. We will be sending out a replay of this webinar to you all as well. It's going to take me a little while to edit it, make sure I get it all uploaded and everything, but by tomorrow, everyone should have access to this replay of this webinar. Now, I have seen a couple other questions come through that we haven't had a chance to ask yet, and then we'll jump into other questions. Tyler, they were asking what landing page you use to create that.
Oh yeah, good question. We use, I mean, our team is pretty versatile. They can build landing pages in any system. Most of our clients are using lead pages or some type of WordPress, install or whatever. But I really like Thrive landing page builder, which is now Thrive Architect. We have an agency license of Thrive, and so our clients where we do done for you work, we'll just install that for them and set that up. And all of our Success Lab members also get Thrive installed as well for free. So if you join Success Lab for a buck and you get nothing out of it, you at least get Thrive, which normally costs like 59 bucks or something like that. So we'll install that for you. But yeah, that landing page you saw was a Thrive Architect landing page.
Awesome. And then for those of you who didn't see, I did try to answer the pick snippets question in the questions area. Pick snippet is spelled PICSNIPPETS and then .com. Again, I included that link in our chat box, so if you guys want to just follow the link or copy and paste, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Do we have any other questions? Feel free to start typing those into the question box right now, and either Tyler or myself will try to answer those.
One question I'm seeing here, I see it from a couple of people, is, hey, I just joined Success Lab. Am I supposed to get an email? Well, the way we set it up, you'll notice that when you purchase, instead of going to like a thank you page, it actually logs you in immediately and automatically into the Success Lab and then walks you through what we call some onboarding steps. So the first step is to set up your password. Second step, I can't even remember what it is, but we invite you to join the Facebook group. You can add users underneath you. There's various different steps before you get full access to the rest of the membership site. So what we do is when you purchase, the confirmation email doesn't get sent for a few minutes later because we want you to stay focused on going through those onboarding steps. If you don't finish onboarding, then you get a different email. If you do finish onboarding, then you get an email specific to that. So that's why there's a little bit of delay. You're not going to see the confirmation email right away, but you'll see it just a few minutes later. And I see Shannon saying, yeah, I got my receipt.
Perfect. I do see one about SMS that I'll go ahead and tackle since it's Plus This's feature. The question was, how do you personally respond to text messages from customers? So with Plus This, it's an automated SMS feature. So in Tyler's example, when they were replying with certain keywords, he was having pre-built messages already lined up to send out to those customers. So when he used pick snippets, he used merge fields from Infusionsoft to put the names in those slots to, again, make it feel more personal in that regard. But all of that is built prior to the campaigns using Plus This as automated SMS sequences. Now, if you wanted, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I'll add my 2 cents after.
Sure, absolutely. So if you wanted to actually personally respond or butt into the conversation, we do have the ability to forward text messages from the automation to your personal phone number or another cell phone number of sorts, and then you can respond that way. But then that's going to be coming from your cell phone. It's not going to be coming from the Twilio number or the automation anymore. And if anybody has any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to send out some information. It's all in our help articles as well.
Yeah, cool. That's what I was going to mention, is that there's a little bit of a transition that happens from the automated to the personal in that situation. But it's generally fine, because if you just come right back out of them, hey, this is Tyler with Box Out, blah, 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 blah. When you start that personal conversation, then it's pretty seamless. Like, people don't totally freak out when it's a different number. Like, they might recognize, oh, it's a different number. But if you tell them who you are and where you're from and whatnot, then they realize what happens. People are pretty understanding that, oh, I texted in a keyword and I got an automated response. Like, they understand that's an automated situation. But as soon as you come in with that personal message, what's really cool is that's what creates that intimate relationship, because now they know it's you. You open the door with the automation, but then when you actually respond personally, it really opens up the door for an intimate conversation, intimate relationship. And a lot of people just won't do it because they're not going to go through the effort, because they believe in this dream of, I can automate my whole business and go live on the beach and make money. Well, that's semi-true, but the more you can actually dive in personally, the more you're just going to leverage this whole idea and really, really crush it.
That's awesome. So I did see another question. Say you have an audience of 20,000. How long would you estimate that it would take to create customized communications with them? So again, if you're using automation, there are certain limits when it comes to like texting in batches, and depending on how many phone numbers you have to utilize. So with our SMS feature, we have the ability to now cycle through multiple phone numbers. I believe, and don't quote me on this, I think it's like a 1,000 text messages at a time or something like that. But if you're going through and cycling through multiple phone numbers that you have, you can send those out in large batches so that you can get through larger lists like that much faster. And that's simply like a funnel that texting has at that point, so that you're not just blasting people or they think that you're spamming people in that regard. However, you can cycle through multiple phone numbers to reach a list that large, and plus this has a way to accomplish that. Through Twilio, it's $1 a month per phone number, so it's a pretty nominal fee to have multiple phone numbers that way.
Yeah, and Ronnie, what I do in those situations is I'll stagger some of the stuff, because I want to be able to respond when necessary when people do engage personally. And if you do 20,000 at a time, you can get overwhelmed, and then your responses are going to be late and whatnot. And so I might stagger them out over the course of a few hours so that I can stay on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense too. Yeah, if you're okay with staggering it out, that's actually probably the better route. It's a lot more manageable at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what if you only have one service and the price is standard? There's no such thing as a discount or offer. Is Infusionsoft's complexity overkill? What are your thoughts on that, Tyler?
I don't think so at all, because like, we have a lot of clients where I'll definitely advise them, hey, you don't want to discount this. You have competition or whatnot. It's a race to the bottom. Keep your premium pricing. And in those cases, it's not about the discount. It's about the value of the offer, right? So it really comes down to copy and persuasion and the whole psychological sales process and whatnot. And you can accomplish a lot of that through Infusionsoft automation. It's why I love it, is because, again, based on their activities and based on what you know about them, you might understand their desires, their pains a little bit better, and therefore you can dial in the messaging and be more persuasive in your communications. And so Infusionsoft is very, very helpful in that situation.
And being able to automate some of your tasks and procedures in the office, especially if like you're a smaller company, like here at Plus This, we have like 7 employees in the office. So it helps to take a lot of that workload off you as well, regardless of how many service offerings you have. I mean, we only have 2 different levels in our plans, and we use Infusionsoft ourselves.
Cool. There's a question here, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name, but it looks like Moshi. Moshi is saying, hey, so Moshi signed up for Success Lab and says, hey, I got when I got into Success Lab, there's a new member checklist that was marked off for what I did and didn't do. How'd you set that up in Infusionsoft? Well, that's a little bit of custom coding, but we use Memberium for our membership sites, and Memberium allows you to show and hide different information based on tags. So each one of those checkboxes represents a tag. When they have the tag, it shows a checked checkbox. When they don't have the tag, it shows an empty checkbox. And so when you do various different things in the membership site, then it will give you a tag, and then it checks off that box. So that's how that works.
All right, so after initial contact, then we connect to email campaign. Do you recommend using occasional text messages during campaigns?
Yeah, I do. The key here, though, is to make it natural. Again, SMS is a very intimate medium of communication. And if you just come in blasting sales messages, boom, that's like immediate, I'm out, like reply stop, you know, I'm done with you, right? So you have to have a natural way of doing that. So one of the easiest ways is just to offer help or ask a question. And so I might send a text, you know, in midway through some kind of conversion sequence or something, and again, it's based on activity always, right? So if they click on something, then I know they've been to a certain page, right? So then my automated text might say something like, hey, I noticed you checked out our such and such page, you know, our blog post or our, you know, offer page or whatever. Did you have any questions? Is there anything I can help you with? So that feels normal. It feels like a natural conversation, right? And so then if they reply back, and that's forwarded onto my personal phone, and they have a legitimate question, then now starts the conversation, right? I will also use SMS for offer reminders, but usually only if they've requested for that. So when in the opt-in process, I might say, hey, do you want a text message reminder before the offer is up? Yes or no, check, right? And then later on in the sequence, you know, countdown's happening, and it's like, hey, there's 24 hours left. I might send an automated text, hey, just a reminder, there's 24 hours left in the offer, you know, make sure you grab it before it's gone. Or you can use SMS for reminders for webinars and things like that. Those are kind of, you know, those are more natural places to use it. But definitely, if people haven't, you know, requested it, I wouldn't start badgering with sales messages. I would do more of the, you know, offer help, ask a question type of approach, and let that open the door, and then take it from there. You can also do that, by the way, as I said, based on activity, right? You can also do that based on non-activity. So you send an email, you're expecting them to click and go check out the blog post. If they don't do it, then you follow up with, hey, I noticed you didn't check out our blog post that we emailed you the other day. Just want to make sure you got it. Here's the link. Do you have any questions, right? And just super casual, leave it at that. Don't follow up anymore unless they respond with a question or anything.
Cool. So I see a question here. Can we sell an Infusionsoft program? Can you clarify, Joyce? Are you looking to sell Infusionsoft as a whole, like as a consultant, or can you clarify just a little further on that, and then we'll come back to that question? And then Moshe followed up on his question. Tyler, it looks like he's just getting started with Memberium. How do you get that into an email? Do you have a quick explanation of that?
Those are trade secrets, my friend. No, I'm just kidding. You know what, Moshe, if you want to send me an email, tyler@boxoutmarketing.com, I can follow up with a little more detail on that. It probably wouldn't make sense to try and explain. There's a couple different ways you can do that, by the way. A very simple and easy way is when you first sign up, I know what you've done, right? Everyone's done the same thing. You paid. And if you go through those onboarding steps, you've set up your password and you've done this and that and that, and all of that stuff that you've done, when you get to the end, it triggers the sequence. And at that point, you've done all those things. You can't get to that end step and trigger that sequence unless you've done all of those things, right? So that email actually is just a screenshot. It's not it's not like what do you call it, dynamic. It's just a screenshot, because everyone who gets to that point in the sequence is at the same place, has all of the same checkboxes, right? Now, if you don't go through those, you just go through the first step and you stop. Again, I know where you're at, so that's why we have that timer, and the email that comes a little bit later because it's waiting for you to go through those steps. Well, if you only go through the first step, again, I know you've done the first step, but I know you haven't done the other steps, and so again, just a screenshot that only shows that step being completed and not the others. So it's actually pretty basic, but I can give you a little more detail on the back end if you send me an email. Again, it's all actions and reactions, right? Which actions have they taken? Which actions haven't they taken? And when I know that, I can do very specific follow-up with you.
Okay, so Joyce clarified she's developing an Infusionsoft campaign for a local practice that's purchased a type of equipment they need to pay for. The campaign is just for that equipment. There are similar practices that could use an effective campaign to promote the equipment. So sounds like, Joyce, you're trying to sell like a consulting service to be able to use Infusionsoft better. If that is the case, Infusionsoft does have a certified partner program that you can look into, in which you could potentially help that practice out, be able to resell Infusionsoft. I would research Infusionsoft's website for their certified partners program. All right, any other questions, anyone? Well, it looks like we're wrapping up here, Tyler. We've got a couple more minutes. Anything last minute things you want to let everybody know about?
No, these have been great questions. Again, I'll just reinforce this idea that it's all about actions and reactions. It sounds so simple and so stupid, but that really is the key. If you can separate yourself from the technology, separate yourself from what everyone's telling you to do, like, oh, do these fancy funnels, do this, that, and the other, and just realize you're asking people to do stuff. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. When they do it, how do I want to follow up? When they don't, how do I want to follow up differently? It is that simple decision-making process and the way that you follow up that creates this more personalized, intimate conversation with your prospects. And it really does come down to that simple activity of just analyzing the various different actions that they take and the reactions that you're going to have in place of that. And when you do that thoughtfully, and when you do it really in a way that that you would do if you were doing it manually, then it just creates a whole different experience. That's when you start to really, really leverage the power of Infusionsoft. If you just do automation like everyone else does automation, then you're just going to be like everyone else in everyone's inbox, and you're going to end up in the promotions folder, and no one's going to see your stuff, and everyone's going to ignore it, and all that kind of stuff. So just take that extra time to be a little more thoughtful about it, and it will make a big difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tyler, for doing this for everybody today. This has been absolutely amazing. I hope all of you out there enjoyed this just as much as I did. And again, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is ronnie@plusthis.com. Like I said, we're going to send out the replay hopefully tomorrow, as long as I can get that edited all in time. But other than that, I think that is it. So I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you again, Tyler, for all your help here today.
No worries. Thank you, Ronnie. We'll talk to you guys all soon.
You guys have a great day.